Scott Mitchell, Jason Buck here. Super Bowl's over, thank goodness. But those commercials, we're going to talk about them today. All right, welcome to another edition of Rivals. Scott Mitchell, Jason Buck here. Rivals has arrived, and now it's time to go to that post-Super Bowl mortem where we talk about, thank goodness that game was over, because that was the worst Super Bowl ever played.
It was awesome.
In 53. No, it wasn't.
It was awesome because, number one, I picked New England. You picked the Rams. I was right.
That doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just boring.
Defense is awesome. It was just like a symphony of butt kicking.
No, yeah, and you know what that sounds
beautiful.
like? It sounds like a lot of gas, a lot of hot air. That's what that is.
So you're just mad because the defensive coordinators had an answer for anything the offense was throwing
No, they didn't. They had a young quarterback who had a deer in the headlight look, and they had a coaching staff that wouldn't give him plays early on in the game to get him in the flow. Okay,
you knew New England would come out with the right game plan.
A year ago,
swing pass,
a year ago, Nick Foles, who hadn't really been in the Super Bowl, hadn't been playing. They specifically said, we are going to get him going early, give him some confidence early.
Yeah.
And of course, the Rams were like, no, we're going to make you throw down the field. We got all this pressure. It's like, get the guy in the flow, get him going. So that had nothing to do with.
I would have kept it more simple.
That had nothing to do with defense. It had nothing to do with defense.
The defensive game plan. They had an answer for everything.
Right. And I said last week, Bill Belichick will make Jared Goff throw the ball. They'll stop the run, and they're going to make him throw the ball.
Absolutely.
And so if you're smart, if people would listen to this, Rams, get your quarterback going early because they're not going to let you run the ball, and then come back to the running game later.
But they're not as smart as Scott and Jason.
Well, hello,
right?
Who is? I mean, come on.
But I looked at it, and it did just what you said. Look, everybody was worried about Donald and Sue on the D-line for the Rams. You're saying, look, the Rams are going to come out with four-man pressure, get after Tom Brady, and they had an answer for it. I really keyed in on Donald especially, and he was just flying upfield, around blocks. All he wanted to do is get a sack. They're running the ball up inside. I mean, they just shut those two guys down. They got 0 sacks on the game.
Well, New England didn't do a whole lot offensively. I mean, it wasn't like they scored like 13 points.
But they managed the game.
They didn't manage the game.
They managed the game.
The Rams handed them the game. That's what there was no managing it at all. It would have been a whole lot better if the Saints would have been there. Someone would have given the Patriots a game.
There's a whole other show we can talk about the Saints getting robbed.
Well, hey, we're not here to talk about this. We just went down a rabbit hole. But, it is what it is.
I just, honestly, Scott, the coaching staff, Belichick, you knew he was going to have just a great game plan. An offensive coordinator has been there 6 times. Sound defense. They had the best defense, in the playoffs.
They got out-coached. Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
Across the board.
Yeah, they got out-coached.
Well, we're not here to talk about that. What we're here to talk about is the Super Bowl commercials.
Oh.
Now, obviously, this was my favorite. This was the one where it's like an Alexa commercial.
Yeah.
But I didn't know I didn't even care. That wasn't the funny part to me. I just thought the funny part was Harrison Ford standing there having a conversation with his dog, because apparently the Alexa or whatever it is can pick up dog language, and the dog barked into the little talking device in the house and kept ordering dog food and all kinds of stuff. And
it was awesome.
Yeah, and then all the dog food showed up, and Harrison Ford has this exchange. I thought that was really funny.
It was one of the great commercials, no question about it. I loved it. But I honestly loved the NFL commercial where there was loose football out in the banquet room, and I mean, it was just because the first thing I thought when that ball went on the floor, I'm like, fumble drill. I mean, everybody's screaming football, and you got some of the greatest players in the history of the game that are have their great spots. Terry Bradshaw.
The thing about that commercial, you have to go watch it several times.
Yeah.
Because there's little short, Tom Brady taking off all 5 of his Super Bowl rings and handing to Baker Mayfield, and Joe Montana acting like he's going to throw to Michael Irvin, and he says, "I don't think so, cowboy," and throws it.
There's all kinds of little digs in there that were just really funny.
But the funny part was Marshawn Lynch in the beginning, kind of like being so like non-interested in what the commissioner's up there saying, and
Right.
and all he can focus on is the cake, right?
Yeah.
And he just like, I can't stand it anymore, and he reaches for the cake, and it just starts all of the chaos. Funny, very good, good commercial.
That was such a good commercial, and it fit, honestly, I think, the personality of football and what it was really like in the locker room and all of us, and maybe it meant more to football players. But I just thought that one was so well done.
Well, it was the only good thing that happened, you know, as far as the NFL. So they had a good commercial because they had a terrible game.
Yeah,
it was an awful game. Come on, Jason.
For
it
the
was an
general
awful
audience,
game.
I honestly loved it, Scott.
Yeah, for you and maybe 4 other people in the whole world.
I can watch a 0-0 game and think it was the greatest game ever on the planet.
Yeah.
Because you can see the offensive mind working, and you see great defensive technique and defense being in the right position, closing on the ball, great tackling. I just love great defensive games.
I would turn that off.
Of course,
I'm
but
not
you're
going
a
to sit
quarterback
there.
that wants 40 points on the board.
Me, the quarterback, and every single person that came to my house for the Super Bowl, none of them were quarterbacks, and they were all like, "This is the lamest Super Bowl I've ever been a part of."
No, I mean, I would have sat there with like Dick Butkus
I got a question
and some
for
of
you.
the great defensive players, and we would have just
average commercial for 30 seconds in the Super Bowl. How much do you think it was this year?
Oh gosh, the cost?
Yes.
30 seconds, $2 million.
You're not even halfway there.
What?
$5.2 million on average for 30 seconds of airtime in the Super Bowl.
Man.
A lot of commercials were 2 minutes long. You're looking at almost $26 million.
Man! You know what? It is honestly the greatest sporting event in the world.
Well, it's a perfect storm. If you're an advertiser,
Yeah.
you're looking at over 100 million people in one setting.
Yeah.
You cannot get an audience like that if you have the right product that you're peddling that people are really interested in. Then you can. So tell me the commercial that actually was kind of pulled at your heartstrings, because there were some good ones. You have any that pulled at your heartstrings?
Pulled at my heartstrings?
Yes. You want me to tell you mine while you think of yours?
Yeah, because I'm sitting there.
So the one that really got me was the first responders. It was actually a Verizon commercial. So they had Anthony Lynn, the head coach for the San Diego Chargers, who had a first responder experience in his life, and he's up there thinking he's on a goodwill mission for the NFL. So he's talking to a bunch of first responders, firefighters, police officers, EMTs. And he said, look, I wanted to thank you personally because I had an experience in my life where I had people that came and I'm told they were angels that literally saved my life. And then they pan to these 2 individuals and say, hey, coach, just want to introduce myself. I'm so-and-so. And the other guy said, I'm so-and-so. And we were the first people there that night. And then the woman said, and I was the first EMT. And he just choked up, you know, because he'd never...
Yeah.
And so, very cool. Love that one. That really pulled at my heart.
That's hard to beat. I mean, I love that. I'll tell you, the one thing that really pulled at my heart, because I'm just Mr. Patriotic, and I was just, Gladys Knight, national anthem. Honestly, I was all emotional on that. I think she just did a fantastic job. And that's what, to start out the Super Bowl like that. And I know you and I, like when we're standing on the sidelines in the game and they're singing the national anthem and we're all in a line and you do the jets fly by and the emotions of it and just the feeling of patriotism in America. That's what, when the NFL's doing it right, that's what they do it. They build it upon that.
I love the flyby, and I agree with you.
Oh,
but
when you're ready to start
the stadium's closed. It's just like...
Well, they had it open for the flyby.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they opened it, and then they were talking about how it closed. It took them like 8 to 10 minutes to close really fast.
I didn't even pay attention to that.
So they had it open. They opened it just for the flyby, and it's just fantastic.
Never mind.
Yeah,
I'm uninformed.
But the patriotism, that part of NFL wins when they build that American patriotism around the game, and stop the crud that was going on the last few years. And that's just, everybody wins. Everybody loves it. It's emotional.
Gladys Knight is probably the perfect person to sing the national anthem.
She did. Everybody talks about how fantastic she was.
Well, bridging 2 sides of the story.
Yes,
was really good.
She was fantastic.
All right, this round of rivals is now over. Hope you enjoyed the commercials because the game was lame.
It was awesome, man. There's some great defense. Closing down on those little swing passes. Boom! It was great.
But it's over now. We can go.
But it's over. So we're off to our corners.
He's Jason Buck.
And he's Scott Mitchell.
You can text Rivals to 65537. You can go to those social sites, Facebook at Rivals Podcast and Twitter at The Rivals Show. Be smart, dial us in on that phone of yours. And until then, we will catch you soon.